what we've seen is the rise of breath work. And as you say, COVID has speeded that up, I think, because it makes people really interested in breathing when it might stop. You know, when we're talking about ventilators as, you know, a key resource for a nation, you know, I'm pretty sure I had the old COVID, and there was definitely a few weeks where that was all I was thinking about all day long. You know, I was waking up in the morning, how's my breath? Am I breathing? Am I going to have to go to hospital? How's it going? You know, it's a lot of breath awareness there, and a lot of necessity and a lot of influence to be positive on that. And I also go, it's accessible. So breath is like, everyone's got breath, or else you're dead. So it's like, some people cannot do Ashtanga. Some people cannot do Aikido. They just can't do it physically.
That's right.
People come and say, yeah, everyone can do Ashtanga. No, they can't. Some people
no, they can't. This is not true.
just cannot do it physically.
Not with Ashtanga. Yeah.
Right. Or certain forms of Aikido. And it's interesting, like yoga got very external, you know, the shapes and the postures and the Instagram, and it got more handstands, more and more dramatic and gymnastic. And at the same time, there's a whole lot of other people that went, okay, let's go in. You know, breath for me is a process of saying, okay, let's strip it down, because you could literally lock me up, put me in a straitjacket in a prison cell, and I could still do breath work. You couldn't stop doing breath work.
That's right.
It's almost like the last practice that could be taken away from you by definition, because you're dead if it gets taken away. So I'm kind of curious, like what's gone, and also just that it's powerful, right? Like just the mindfulness might take you a little while to get a result. You know, if you're sitting meditating, I was doing Tai Chi this morning, that definitely takes a little while to get a result. But breath work, you can be like, right, do this Wim Hof thing for 5 minutes. Afterwards, you're like, whoa, I'm pumped, you know? Right. I did that coherent breathing for 5 minutes, and now I'm super chill, you know? Like, it's pretty obvious. It's both subtle and obvious at the same. It's subtle work, but obvious outcome breath work, isn't it?
So much so, because an old quote of an angry man's breath will never be the breath of a calm and peaceful one is a very interesting, it's from an old text, but this interesting concept that the breathing behind our demeanor, behind how we're being, is always indicative. There's another one from the Taoists that says, show me how a person breathes and I will tell you what manner of person they are. Wow. Powerful statement, and again, instantly indicative of how you're breathing as to what is being produced in the body, in the embodiment. In fact, no accident that in the West we look at health as this balance of body, mind, and spirit. Why in the East is it body, mind, and breath? Same matrix, spirit and breath in most of the world's languages root in the same word. Particularly in English, all the words that end in spire used to be more connected to the breath, or spirare in Latin, the breath or spirit. Inspire, aspire, respire, transpire, expire, all of them, conspire, used to be connected to breath. And so how neat that the language creators may have been even more connected to their breathing, but that's something we can't pass on unless we do. If it wasn't spoken about, somebody passes away, how they were breathing on the planet is gone. And I find that interesting. What do we not know about these ancients that we revere, these ancient cultures that got us here, you know, and preserved ways of being? How did some of them breathe? So very interesting concept. You go back to the early Christians, you find they breathed together. And it's kind of baffling.
We don't know, do we? Like, it's not recorded in books. Like, and I heard this walking as well. Someone was trying to figure out like how Egyptians walked, and was saying that like ancient Egyptians, you know, this old song "Walking Like an Egyptian," you know, but it's like actually they may have just walked fundamentally differently from us. And then like the same thing with breath. That's kind of interesting thing to consider, right? Like a lot of the breathing patterns we see now, you know, anxiety, modern breathing, modern posture, you know, there are some differences there, right?
Particularly in martial arts. You mentioned martial arts multiple times. Gosh, how many times have we seen how breathing in Kung Fu, breathing in different, you know, Qigong, it backs a lot of those practices, or people utilize, for instance, in Tai Chi, the stillness of breath through that whole system is its own thing. Anyway, I didn't.
Do you have a kind of niche? Because it seems like, sorry, and you call it a niche, don't you? Like a specialism. So it seems like now breath work is getting popular, And what I can imagine happening is in kind of what happened in yoga. So what happened in yoga was originally it was just yoga, then there was Ashtanga yoga, then there was rocket yoga, then then there was like, just yoga for cat lovers with one arm. It got more and more.
That's right. That's right.
I'm thinking something like that might happen in breath work. Is it going to be like breath work for anxiety specialists? Is it going to be breath workers for certain kind of people who work with kids, who work with old people? Like Alicia was on, who's like breath work for cancer is her thing, right? What a great niche, beautiful niche. So is there something you particularly go into?
It's a great question. For me, particularly, I got stung, like I said, as an archaeologist of the breath and going and seeking so many to see what was there. I found myself distilling what works well for the lifestyles of today. And one of the gurus I studied with, Dr. Acharya Yogesh, said to me, he was like, we could use a new breathing manual every 10 years that relates how the human is breathing to how the human is living. And I was like, wow, that's really a powerful concept, and probably how it works anyway, meaning new humans show up, new humans breathe, new humans have discoveries, and they share them. The issue now, though, that you're going to see is, like you said, the rise of the popularity of it is going to probably have so many different modalities appear. And I'll say that can be a good and a not so great thing, particularly with breathing, because it's so accessible. Someone can pick up and begin learning how to do so. And I don't think that's a great thing. I think one needs to seek out a richness of practice, like with anything else. They say you put 10,000 hours in to create some level of mastery with it. I believe with the breathing, it's very much the case. And if you're going to lead someone, having that in your arsenal is powerful. Now, I am predicting that healers of all types will create new niches that are very important. And we must listen and be open. And the proof is in the pudding. You put on the particular breath work, see what that person found. If you find it as well, it's valid. It doesn't need double-blind, placebo-controlled studies in every case, And so I think we're going to evolve our software. And we're going to see it through the psychologists, the therapists. You're going to see it through the yogis and the yoga teachers. And hopefully we arrive at a place where there's a new understanding, collective understanding, that there is a series of ways and things we can use our breath to do, to arrive at, to live a better life, and really not be passive with it. That's what I think the big rise is about, is that we were so passive about our breathing. And now people will become very active and very conscious of it. What will that do to us? We have yet to see.
Yeah. And is there a risk of a kind of consumerism here, because I'm almost picking like breathwork techniques out of a big bag now, with the availability of, it's not just that I'm lucky. I get to interview people like you. I'm very lucky, but it's also that I can be in Anthony Abbiano's, Sunday morning class. Then I can get my Wim Hof app on my phone. And then I can look at my Max Strom kind of, what's it called? Online learning platform. Then I look at my, it's like, and that's just the last 3 days of my life. Just literally, I did that. This is just an example. That's actually what it is. So I go, okay, it's almost like a consumer thing. You know what I mean? It's like going to the supermarket, particularly in the States, man. You go to the supermarket and it's like 48 kinds of cheese.
Right.
48 kinds of ketchup. It's a little bit like that. And there's that sort of quality to it. You know what I mean? It can easily get that way.
It really does, Mark. And the thing is, if a person just keeps listening to their intuition amongst the sea of offerings and sea of different types or styles, see what you're attracted to. I never give it like a prescription and say, hey, you really need to go do this. Unless I see there's reason, I'll explain it from having known. But I think people being attracted by way of intuition and by way of really, we're being led to these different ways, kind of like you would have been led to Ashtanga if it was good for you, but you might have been in Hatha yoga practice because it was good for you and you found that first. Same thing's going to happen with breath work, is people will, granted right now, it's kind of funny how you mentioned it, because we've never had a time where breath workers had this free reign to literally market and share their work and people would listen.
And also, like, Anthony got hundreds of people in his class because he's doing it on Zoom.
Right.
not like you had to pay $500 and hire a room and then go to the workshop and get on a train to London or fly to New York. I'm in my kitchen making coffee at 25 past, 30 minutes past. I clicked on Zoom. Exactly right there. You know?
That's right. And I'll tell you, some of the breath workers were shaking in their shoes at first because they were like, how are we going to do this work? And I said to them, I've been doing this work over Zoom myself for over 10 years, almost 15 on Skype.
Oh, wow. You're ahead of the curve then, man.
Oh, man, I tell you what, I have a gallery, photo gallery of clients showing up in the same exact color to our sessions. And there is this concept of mirror neurons that I am fascinated about, that I believe when we look at each other, face each other, and obviously on Zoom we're doing it, there are activations in us that are really valuable and are very much human capabilities. And so I think it's actually very interestingly supportive that therapists, coaches, breath workers are getting this opportunity to mirror neuron up. Anyway, it's a neat noticing, and I invited all the breath workers. We were on a call with a lot of people at the International Breathwork Foundation. I said, hey, everybody, don't be scared. Not only that, run into it. Go find how your particular breathwork style will transfer. Don't be scared. Anyway, look where we're at now. Everybody's.
I really saw. I was been tracking this. We helped about 4,000 yoga teachers get online. Who were, people. We just put it out there like, hey, we're going to do a free class on how to work on Zoom, because Daniela and I, who run the Embodiment Conference, have been doing it for a few years. So we're like, yeah, let's help people out. And 4,000 people turned up. We're like, whoa, okay. But we definitely saw that, like, some of my students as well took it as an opportunity. They were like, great, okay, things have been disrupted. I'm going to make the most of it. Others just were like a little careful at first, and maybe that's good. They're like, is this my thing? Is this my medium? That's a good thing, And others were just never got onto it. They were just like, just from fear, just from being stuck in this isn't what I do. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. And that's fine. That makes the whole world interesting, right?
Different people, different things. I mean, what are the differences for doing breath work for you online? Do you see any kind of, obviously we can still see people, but you can't touch people. You can't feel them in quite the same way. I mean, do you have any sense of like what's lost for you as a teacher?
Particularly for me in Life Force Mastery, the modality I'm teaching, that I'm particularly wanting to fill your, what I call superhero satchel, your bag of tricks, as a standalone vehicle, being able to create what you want in state change, what you want in your creation of your day, a morning breathing practice, deepening of meditation, uniting with your group, co-creative group by breathing together. I teach those things, and they do not suffer at all or lose anything in the approach of how to do that. My work doesn't have any touch involved in it from the therapist perspective. I do find some value when people are creating releases. Mm-hmm. If you're doing a particular modality of breathwork where releases are there's two schools of thought. One is you don't touch the person at all, but there are, in transformational breathing, that's one of the modalities, touching places where permission has been given ahead of time and it's assisting the release. That I can say isn't going to happen online unless a person is led to touch and release and help release along themselves. So that's the only place I've been seeing kind of a dip, is when touch therapy is maybe a part of it. Definitely, I can say the presencing of a human being with you has a warmth to it. We all have experienced it, But there is so much effect and effectiveness and result because it's you breathing it. And that's a cool thing I often arrive at the end of a session. I'll say to people, hey, what you're feeling, I didn't breathe for you. No one's going to jump over there, breathe for you. You did that. I just guided it. And that too is empowering. People go, wow, you know what? He's right. I'm on Zoom. He's 1,000 miles away. And we just did it. And I did it. And so when people feel that for themselves, there's a beautiful empowering. It's actually why my work is 75% breath work, 25% life coaching. Mm-hmm. It's a life coaching, breath coaching that happens because the breath begins to evolve different parts of our life. If you work with someone weekly, you got to know how to respond to that. And so it's been a really wonderful opportunity to be there for people, just presencing while they have evolutions happening through the breath.